All right, talking college hoops. The Chiefs are done. The Royals, we have some more time. Jarrett Sutton is here, SEC network analyst, scout as well in the NBA, but a guy who played college basketball, knows the game very well. Let's start with Kansas, Jarrett, because a team that right now isn't what we're used to from Kansas. What's the biggest concern you have with them as they've hit maybe a bit of a lull?
Well, I think the loss of Azubuike has been significant for Kansas. They've had to change lineups. They're going to Dedrick Lawson more on the low block. Dedrick is more of a versatile outside threat. I don't think he's shooting the ball the way he's capable of, but it's how their offense is structured. They got to get more production from their young players. You saw against Kentucky, I thought Quentin Grimes struggled. They got to start getting some production from their young players. Ochai Agbaji, his red shirt being lifted, I think gives them a lift off the bench, but they're desperate for some more production that isn't Dedrick Lawson. Let's
talk about Ochai. Local guy. You have Christian Braun going there next year as well, so a couple local Jayhawks, which is cool. But Ochai, they lift the red shirt. What can he give them that they don't have?
Well, Bill Self said it before, he is their best athlete. And what I would tell KU fans is he's also a great three-point shooter. He is a shot maker. He's a smart kid. But what he's doing right now for Kansas is doing the little things, which is what Bill Self demands of you. He demands that you play defense. He demands that you give extra effort, that you rebound, that you don't turn the ball over, and you be productive with your minutes. And that's something Ochai has done as a freshman. He's proved himself in practice. He's a tough kid, and he's an intelligent kid, and he's doing what Bill Self is asking of him to do. This is just the beginning for him. It's great experience for him. But I do think he's going to have some better moments come February, too, once he gets his feet wet, once he starts to get more comfortable within the flow of their offense and their defensive system.
That's what Bill was saying. A couple of those big games, it's like, I don't know if he's quite ready yet just because he's been sitting the entire season. Last thing on KU, is this still a team? I remember last year it was like, well, there's no way they'll get to the Final Four, and they do. Is this a team that can surprise, or do we really have enough holes? Is it a Swiss cheese-looking team that they may not get to the Final Four again?
Well, I think with Bill Self, he's a Hall of Fame head coach, and I don't put anything past Bill Self. He's got a tough team. He still has good guard play, but he doesn't have the Frank Mason, Svi Mikhailuk, Devontae Graham type seniors that lead. He's got young guards that have to grow up really quick. Yes, Dedrick Lawson is a versatile scorer. He's a double-double machine. But without Azubuike, without a post presence, they have to have guards that make shots. That's LeGerald Vick. He's that veteran presence. He's got to step up and make some shots. He was great early on in non-conference play. He's had good moments, but he's also had moments where he's gone back to struggling, turning the ball over, and really having those issues, taking care of the ball within their half-court structure. He's got to be more productive on the offensive end.
I want to talk K-State, but you're a Tiger. Let's talk Mizzou for a bit. Tough loss, at least as of this taping last time out. 14-point lead, 2 minutes left against LSU. Didn't go their way. Where is Mizzou right now, and are they out of the March Madness picture? If so, how can they get back into it?
Well, they didn't have Mark Smith against LSU. That's a big problem. He shot the best in the three-point line in the SEC. He's done terrific. This is a guy that shot almost 20% from three-point range when he was at Illinois. So this is a player that Konzo Martin was able to get active. He's been great for them. Jeremiah Tillman is still the player that Missouri fans are going to look to as staying on the floor, staying out of foul trouble. Jordan Geis has been terrific. Kevin Purrier has still got to be more consistent. As far as where Missouri's at, they have young players that are still growing, getting experience. Javon Pickett, a guy like Xavier Pinson, who fouled out in the game against LSU. I thought that was a big moment. Give Missouri credit. They played against an athletic LSU team that is a good team, that is a team that's going to be an NCAA tournament team, had a 14-point lead with 2 minutes to play, but the hiccup with this team is taking care of the basketball. They struggle with turnovers, and they have to hang their hats on defense. That's their identity. They didn't defend against LSU. They had too many holes in their defense, and that's why they lose that game. So they're still growing. They're still learning. Again, Konzo Martin's second year. He's dealing with more injuries. He dealt with an injury with Mark Smith. Obviously, Jonte Porter out, his best player. They got to get more production from their young players.
He's dealt with a lot. He had transfers last year. 2 Porters go down. Can he guide them to the NCAA tournament? Can they make enough noise? Do they have enough good teams left to beat on the schedule to make it as an at-large, or is it SEC tournament or bust for them?
Well, I think with Konzo Martin, I think he's going to tell his team that they just got to focus on the next game ahead. They've had too many games where they beat themselves, whether it be turnovers, defensive lapses, Jeremiah Tillman not staying on the floor. He's too important for this team, the balance that he brings on the offensive end. So I think with what Konzo's trying to get him to do, what Konzo's trying to get his team to do is be more consistent, be more efficient, not just focus on the three-point shooting. They are a good three-point shooting team, but what they got to get back to is playing consistent basketball. And for me, That's them playing hard-nosed defense like they played against Texas A&M, where they don't have to have so much pressure on themselves on the offensive end. They do it on the defensive end. To get to the NCAA tournament, yeah, they got to win some games. They got to win on their home floor. Losing to LSU hurts. That's a resume win. They needed that win. They got to get a stretch similar to how they had in December, where they go run the table in February. There's still games out there for them, but their margin for error is so small right now because they haven't taken care of business, because they haven't closed games similar to the game they had against LSU.
I don't know that K-State looks a whole lot different from last season. I mean, they are a team that is capable of beating anybody. The same starting five are back. You have Cartier Jada off the bench, who's a lightning rod at times, sometimes a bit of a head case. You don't know where he'll be on the floor. What do you think about them? Again, is there any difference from last season where they could be boom or bust, could be out in the first round and could be back in the Elite Eight?
Well, here we are again talking about Dean Wade, right? And Dean Wade with the injuries that he had last year. I still think this K-State team is a NCAA tournament team and a team that can still make a run in March. Now, the game against Texas A&M is a game that K-State fans are all too familiar seeing. Right. A game where they don't play well. They're on the road. They're playing against a team that they have superior talent against. Texas A&M is a lifeless basketball team, and they were beaten right out of the gate, and they didn't make shots. The key with K-State is bringing offensive efficiency and being consistent on the offensive end. This is a great defensive team. Barry Brown, one of the best defenders in college basketball. They are a tough team and a gritty team, and that does translate in March, but they got to have some consistency on the offensive end. They can't just predict Dean Wade's going to go for a double-double every night. He's got to be more consistent and more aggressive. But the reality is Kansas State's offense is on top of each other. They got to get better ball movement. They got to be better in the pick and roll. And they got to find guys that can make three-point shots. Is that Cartier Jara? Is that Xavier Sneed? Obviously, Xavier Sneed had some great moments against Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. Where's that consistency this year? That's what K-State's got to find the rest of the way.
What does this season say about Bruce Weber? Gets everybody back. I know they've had the Wade injury at this point, but should they be better right now than they are?
Well, I still think when you look at a college basketball season with any team, you put it in three levels, right? You have non-conference, conference, and postseason. So I still think the chapter's still being written right now this year. I do think this is a team that, yeah, they have everybody back. I know K-State fans look at the Tulsa loss, a game where they were in the 40s. That's a halftime score for most teams. Yeah. You can't have that on the road. And you're getting teams' best shots, too. K-State now has a target on their back. They're second in the Big 12 right now. They're going to get everybody's best shot. This is new for them. This is new for Barry Brown and Dean Wade, coming back, being a team that is going to be challenged night in and night out. They have to lead as seniors. They have to take the ball, take it to the rim, late in shot clocks, closing games out, something they didn't do last year. They got to get better at doing that this year. They still have Kansas, 2 games coming up in February. Those are huge games to see where K-State's going to end up. They still got a chance to win the Big 12. Yeah. They're still right here. For as bad as they've played at times, they're still right there, and they can still, write this chapter for themselves.
Let's talk about the Sunflower Showdown. How does it go this year? K-State almost won at Allen last season. Can they get 1 of 2? Could they possibly get 2 of 2, the way Kansas, again, has shown vulnerability down low? I love this matchup. I can't wait to see it unfold. How do you see it unfolding?
Well, I think with Kansas State playing in Allen Fieldhouse, knowing how Kansas closes games, I look at the Kansas game against Texas. Texas had an opportunity to win that game. Kansas blows up that play late on the defensive end, doing their part of executing down the stretch. That's Bill's self-basketball. That's that toughness factor. For Kansas State, they do have those senior pieces like a Dean Wade, like a Barry Brown, that can go make a play. But are they going to be able to execute late in games to close games out, particularly in Allen Fieldhouse? Yeah, Kansas wins games at home, but they also take their product on the road and find ways to close games out. Didn't do it against West Virginia, but for Kansas State, they can go 2-0 against Kansas. They can split. It's all dependent on them. It's what product shows up for Kansas State in these type of games.
Let's you do a lot of scouting for the NBA. We talked about Landry Shamet here last year. We already see him, the KC native, having a great impact as a rookie in the NBA. Who is the best NBA prospect among the guys within the KU, K-State, and Missouri circles? We know Dedrick Lawson is a really good player. Is he the best NBA prospect? If not, who is?
I think out of the local schools, Jonte Porter is still probably the best prospect. Yeah, he's been out all year with injuries, but at 6'11", with his ability to move, with his ability to shoot the ball off the bounce, his ability to pass and impact the game defensively, he's a first-round asset. Dedrick Lawson is a consistent, efficient player. He's a guy that lacks some athleticism at the NBA level, but he's got great length, and he's a coach's kid. That type of basketball IQ you love to see.
He's old man basketball. He plays
exactly
ball,
right.
Man. That's how he plays.
The enigma has been LaGerald Vick. This is a guy that came back as a senior. A lot of headaches over the last 3 years at Kansas, but he is a freak athlete.
Started out great.
Started out great. He's a shot maker, and he's a guy that translates to the NBA game in a role, and that's something you got to look to. I think Dean Wade falls in this category, but what everybody wants to see out of Dean Wade is more consistency and more of that alpha dog mentality to be more aggressive and be more of an impact. Those guys stand out to me. I think Jarrett Culver and Jackson Hayes, other players in the Big 12, those guys stand out. Keldon Johnson of Kentucky, another player that Kansas looks at in their last game. He's a player of the SEC that I think's got a great chance.
Last thing, among the younger players, the Ochais, for example, or even the Pinsons and Pickett's from Missouri, maybe both as an NBA prospect potential and also just potential to have a good college career, who's kind of the under-the-radar guy for fans around here to watch, and then maybe you'll see some dividends in the end?
Well, I think Quentin Grimes and Devon Dotson fall in this category. I don't think they're ready this year, but those guys got great potential down the road. So those are players that I think will be around in Kansas and be able to develop similar to Devontae Graham and Frank Mason. I always tell young players, it's okay to stay in school. There's this rush to leave and be a one and done, and there's that stigma. But you're in college. You're at Kansas. You're at one of the best programs in college basketball. So it's your time to grow and develop. Those guys still have a great chance down the road. For Missouri, a guy like Javon Pickett has a bright future. He's still very young. Jeremiah Tillman falls in this conversation. But great players stay on the floor. And that's what Jeremiah has to do. He's got some of the best footwork in the SEC, but he can't stay on the floor. He's another player to keep watching.
All right, Jarrett Sutton dishing out the hoops knowledge with us. Jarrett, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.